Union Home Minister Amit Shah, through a tweet, has categorically stated that centre has decided to scrap the free movement regime, a unique protocol that India and Myanmar shared in the border areas in over 1600 plus kilometers of border that the both countries share. The borders with Myanmar lies in India's northeast in the 4 states of Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur and Mizoram, and this decision of centre to scrap the free movement regime is seen as a vital decision given the fact that it is the same Modi government which in 2018 promoted the FMR as a part of its Act East policy to make Northeast as the gateway to Southeast Asia, but it seems that developments in both sides of the border in Myanmar as well as in Northeast, to be precise in Manipur, has led centre to rethink, and what centre says that decision has been taken so as to minimize the threat to internal security within the country from the porous Indo-Myanmar border, as well as to make sure that there is no demographic imbalance in Northeast. Now these are very key points, and these are points which have cropped up particularly from the recent ethnic unrest that Manipur has seen since May 3rd last year. In fact, FMR is something which was instituted decades back, but it became more formal from 2018 with it becoming part of Government of India's Act East policy. According to the free movement regime, people from both sides or from both countries could enter into each other's territory without a visa, without any travel document, by making entry at the entry point on both sides, and they were allowed an entry or a free movement till about 16 kilometers from the border gates on both sides. Now this was very beneficial for particularly the population in the border areas on both sides, particularly the border areas of Myanmar are less developed as compared to the border areas in India. So therefore, people in both sides used to go into each other's territory for many basic needs such as even schooling, hospital, markets. There were open markets on both sides where people used to sell each other's products. So there were these border markets which got developed in the border passes, in the border gate areas. However, most importantly, you have communities, you have ethnic communities on both sides of the border who are ethnically similar, who are similar in terms of their culture, in the way they speak, the language they speak, even religion they follow, as well as their food habits. In fact, the present day border of India and Myanmar, which used to be known as Burma during the British period, is a border which came out of the 1826 Treaty of Yandabu, when at that point of time many part of present day Northeast India were under Burmese control, and the British actually pushed the Burmese back, and a treaty was signed which is known as the Treaty of Yandabu, and this border was demarcated. However, this border remained porous for decades, for years. In fact, only 1 kilometer stretch in Manipur's More has been fenced. Now centre has taken a decision to fence the border. All the 1600 plus kilometer would be fenced in phase wise manner. Pilot projects have started. There would be smart fencing as well, where technology would be used so as to check infiltration as well as proliferation of illegal small arms, narcotics. Now these are key issues. What are the key issues? Why there was a necessity to do this? Now there is a backdrop to it. Before the Manipur unrest sparked, for a year or two, the Manipur government led by N. Biren Singh had started a drive against narcotics, and at that point of time, Manipur government had time and again said that the porous border with Myanmar is used for illegal trafficking of drugs, and also the poppy grown in Manipur is trafficked for processing in Myanmar. Now Myanmar is very close to the Golden Triangle in Southeast Asia, which is infamous for drugs trafficking. Apart from that, there are several rebel groups of Northeast, particularly which operates in the state of Manipur as well as Nagaland and parts of Arunachal Pradesh, which have hideouts in Myanmar, and they carry out in and out hit job operations. Apart from them, you have the proliferation of illegal arms and also wildlife trade, illegal wildlife trade. Having said all this, what had happened is Manipur Chief Minister had time and again flagged that there have been illegal entry of Myanmarese people. Now, as we have pointed out, you have same ethnicities on both sides of the border. So, therefore, Manipur has been asking for a Assam type NRC as well, so as to enumerate who is an original inhabitant and who is an illegal infiltrator or illegal settler from Myanmar. Now, this is something which has been vehemently opposed by ethnic tribal groups in Manipur, and in fact, when this demand of fencing the border and scrapping the FMR was first raised by Manipur Chief Minister N. Biren Singh to center, several ethnic groups not only from Manipur but Mizoram as well as Nagaland have opposed, since they have claimed that for decades, for centuries, you have communities who have similar religion, similar culture, similar ethnicity, who have very close ties, family relationships on both sides of the border. So, they would be affected by this, and in fact, now that the FMR is being scrapped, they are going to get affected. In fact, there are villages in different states which are divided into two parts by the border and which is porous. So, therefore, technically there are houses where one part of the house is technically inside Myanmar and the other part of the house is inside India. This was the condition also of the India-Bangladesh border, but now that has been solved, and on the Bangladesh border there are fence, and center wants to repeat the same on the India-Myanmar border. And as the first step, the free movement regime has been scrapped. Now, essentially, after the ethnic unrest started in Manipur, Manipur government again started writing to center asking that FMR should be scrapped, because they feel that has been used by illegal settlers and people who have created violence to get into Manipur. That has been the narrative of the Manipur government, vehemently again opposed by the tribal groups, particularly the Kuki-Zomi groups. However, what is important to note, that on the other side of the border, for the past couple of months, in fact more than a year, there have been rising revolt against the Myanmar army ever since the army took over the control of the country through a coup. Now, all along the border, there have been severe fight between the Myanmar military and the pro-democracy resistance group, the ethnic rebel groups of Myanmar, and it has only intensified. In fact, New Delhi had been monitoring this development for long. You have over 30,000, around 35,000 people who have fled Myanmar over the past 1 year or more than that, and taken refuge in the state of Mizoram. Mizoram government gave them refuge since they have very close ties. The Mizo people have very close ties with the Chin people of Myanmar, and therefore this shelter was given. There were thousands of people who have also tried to take shelter in Manipur. They came into Manipur, they have been identified, their biometrics are being taken. So, there is a process of registering these people who have taken refuge on humanitarian ground since the fights have intensified, but the fights are only intensifying, and therefore New Delhi thinks that now there is a stage where the entire border dynamics actually boils down into a threat for the internal security of the country, and therefore this decision has been taken. That is what highly placed MHA sources are telling us. And apart from that, the demand of the Manipur government has been considered here, because Manipur government had been saying that due to influx of people from Myanmar who have entered illegally, there is a demographic imbalance which is getting created in that state, and therefore now New Delhi has taken a decision, but this decision perhaps puts India's thrust to link to Southeast Asia in a backseat, because Manipur is the surface gateway of India to Southeast Asia via Myanmar, Thailand and beyond, and therefore this decision might be viewed as a decision where India is taking a backseat in terms of its Act East policy.